This video's build is a custom board for the game Pandemic, Reign of Cthulhu. Here I did a lot of different types of work. So I did some foam work to build a base board, and then I did a lot of 3D miniature printing, and then of course painting all those 3D prints. I made some custom signs that I designed in Tinkercad and then 3D printed, and did some things from Thingiverse. So I had like summoning circles, and I made some custom corner pieces here so that it would hold the frame together, so I didn't have to do any splicing on the corners. Didn't think splicing would really hold up to the wear and tear of a board game kind of environment. And so let's take a tour of the town. So you've got little cobblestone roads that connect to each of the place markers in the towns. Each town is colored uniquely so that it's easier to separate the cards that you collect from the towns, part of the board game. Each location has a little metal sign placard, which is actually plastic, it just looks metal. And then each gate location is marked with a summoning circle, and then I made special tokens to close the gates, and each token on the other side of the close has an elder sign. I began laying out everything on the board, marking all the cities, and then I printed a cobblestone roller and rolled out each of the roads between the cities, changed some of the way the cities flowed together. They still all connect the exact same way, it's just they're laid out a little bit different on the board. After that, I went ahead and 3D printed a lot of accessories. So I 3D printed the gates, 3D printed the trees, 3D printed each of the major landmarks where the 3 gates are, so the graveyard, the hospital, the old mill, and the park. And as you can see, the gravestones, just 3D printed gravestones, and then colored them so that they would match the town that they're in. So red for Kingsport, green for Arkham, purple for Innsmouth, and yellow for Dunwich. And I created gates to match each of those cities. I actually just printed them off Thingiverse and then painted them. My first attempt at marking each of the locations was going to be to put a circle on there and indent it into the foam. But when I painted that up, it didn't look very good. So I ended up going back to the drawing board and went into Tinkercad and made 3D signs. And so I wanted some nice raised lettering signs, but I wanted them to be substantial so that they wouldn't get damaged while playing the game. So I actually made a border around the 3D lettering to kind of hold it all together, and then I painted them all gunmetal black. And then after I finished painting the gunmetal black, I went ahead and put on a coat of silver paint across the top with a stiff foam brush, and that way it just painted the raised parts, and so just the edge and the raised letters got silver touch. And so that came out pretty nice. I like the look of that. It looks like little metal plaque labels that go onto the surface of the game. And then with the town markers, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I made those oval instead of rectangle so they'd stand out a little better. And then I painted them to match each of the towns. And then I did the same kind of thing. I cut down one of the foam brushes and used a bone white paint to paint the town markers. And that way they stood out nice and bright so that when you're playing, if you're playing in a not so well lit room, you could still read the town markers. And that turned out pretty good. And I really liked that foam brush idea for the raised letters. And with the town markers, the outer edge is raised a little bit higher than the letters, so I actually had to get down in there and just highlight the letters, and not the outer edge. But I thought that gave it a more distinctive look and separated it from the location markers. Okay. And next I went ahead and printed up some of the different 3D items and painted all those up. And then decided I was going to do something with the board. It didn't look very good, so I went ahead and roughed up the board and gave it different textures for each town. So kind of gave a grassy look to the green, a little bit of a sandy look to the yellow. And then I think I ended up just going same grassy and sandy tones for the purple and the red. They didn't really need anything special. And then I went ahead and sealed all of it with a watered down Mod Podge. And that way it would give the board a little bit of durability. And the road, when I painted it 3 different colors so that I'd give it a little bit of texture. So each of the roads started off with a coat of brown to give the road some color. And then I kind of gave it a tint to match the city that it was connected to. So purple, red, yellow, and green. And then I put everything together and noticed that the edge of the board wasn't very well protected. So that's when I decided to go ahead and put a border around it. And so then I needed pieces to go on the border, because you need corner enforcers, and then you need markers for the cards at the top, the old ones as they open. You need some 2s, 3s, and the Cthulhu, so that you know how many cards to draw each round, and also know how close you are to losing the game when Cthulhu gets revealed. And so I printed those up and painted them and gave them similar workup. And so I did the gunmetal, but I did spray paint on these instead of hand paint. And then I did the same silver touch up on the edges. And then I screwed the reinforcements on the corners. Thought that would work a lot better than trying to splice the corners of the frame. Plus, wasn't sure if splicing was going to be durable enough for something that gets handled pretty regularly. It's not like a picture frame where it's just hanging on the wall. This game will actually be played with. And then I made some benches, put those in each of the towns where the bus stops are to indicate the bus stop locations. And that's about it. I stained the wood before I put the foam board in. And then I did put some dowels in there to make sure that the foam board stayed connected to the frame. And I went ahead and put a line of silicone sealant between the foam board and the wood, just so pieces wouldn't get trapped down any cracks, and also to give it a better connection between the board and the foam. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and give me comments if you think there's anything I could do to make it a little better, and hopefully it'll inspire you to do something similar. If not, at least give the game a try. It's pretty cool. Pandemic, Reign of Cthulhu. Thanks.